Hi, Annie.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can perfectly.
Yay.
Thanks so
I
much.
just got a new computer, and so I just wanted to make sure it was working and everything.
Oh, I need a brand new computer. I need a brand new phone. If you could see this right
Oh
here.
gosh. Oh yeah. I don't
Doesn't
even
even work
have on
anymore.
my computer I had had since like college, and it was time to finally let it go.
Yeah, my charger doesn't even work anymore. Like I have
No.
on this phone. I'm like, I have to get an update before my phone dies.
Yeah, I would say it's probably a good suggestion there.
So are you in Tampa Bay now?
Yes, I'm currently sitting in my sister's bedroom right now because I am joining the Big Ten Network in the fall. So I travel beginning next Friday, but right now I'm just kind of hanging and then going up to Tampa as much as I can to get my townhome ready for my fiance and I, who he is not home until a couple weeks. So I've kind of been like back and forth, but right now I'm at my parents' house.
Wow.
Just hanging out.
Is that public knowledge now that you're with Big Ten?
Yes, as of actually today.
Oh, wow, really? Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was I've known about it for a while, but it just hasn't been public for a very long time. So
Yeah, that's got to be tough withholding that a
I
little bit.
know. It's like you want to tell everyone, and everyone's like, why did you quit your job? And I'm like, well, like, I'm going to go home for a little bit. And it's been nice to hang out and everything, but I'm ready to get back working again. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, and that's got to be a very like again fulfilling thing that like I'm moving on to the next big thing,
Yeah.
and especially with your husband and moving down there and getting to do like the best of
Yeah.
both worlds, right? Like
Yes. I'm going
personally,
to be living here in Florida with him and then traveling on the weekends, basically, which
yeah.
is quite frankly a perfect scenario. So I just had to take that because, I mean, life's too short, as we all have learned with the whole COVID situation, everything like that.
Do what you want, do what you deserve too. Like both
Amen.
professionally and personally, like you're in a good spot now. Like
Yeah.
how difficult or accepting was it when you left Minnesota again, like mid season too?
Yeah. It was difficult because that was by far one of the best, not one of the best job I had ever had in this field of work for a very long time. It felt like I'd finally reached where I wanted to be in my career, and leaving was definitely tough. I can tell you that. But I just knew that being away from my family and my fiance was not ideal. And I will say Minnesota was a bit too cold for me, but the people there, my bosses, coworkers, everyone was just so incredible. Yeah, and it was very tough to leave. I've never been emotional leaving a job before, but I was actually emotional leaving that one because it meant so much to me, and I had so much fun doing it.
And I feel like you had a good connection with everybody that you worked with. Like it wasn't a job. Like you showed up and did what you loved every day, and
Oh
everybody
yeah,
for the
I
most.
loved it. I looked forward to going to work every single day. Loved, whether it be a shorter day or a longer day, it was a blast and something different and a new challenge every day, which is something that I really felt like I needed, and got that there.
Is baseball your number one, or are you again like all over the place when it comes to sports?
Everyone always asks me that, and of course, covering the Twins these past couple of years has been awesome, and I love working in Major League Baseball. I thought it was awesome, and yes, it's up there, but I would probably have to say college football is my number one. Has always been my true love in life, and so getting to go back and work in the Big Ten scene here shortly, I am very much looking forward to that.
Do you have any events already scheduled? Like it's happening, like you're excited for it?
Yeah. Week one, we are going to, I'm going to Iowa, and I actually have not been to Iowa. So Indiana is going to be playing at Iowa in week one. And so I will be traveling next Friday prior to week one of the season. And I'm so looking forward to it because I heard Iowa is awesome.
Wow. And are you already loving Tampa Bay? Like that whole area, that whole vibe, the whole scene? The weather's obviously phenomenal as opposed to.
Yes, I love it here. I'm from Cincinnati originally, but I always say that this is my home. My parents have been here for so long, and I've made some of the best friends I've ever had in life here. And I just feel like there's so much to do, and you can be outside year round, which is something I love to do. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just, and I've built so many relationships here prior to going to Minnesota because I worked here in the Tampa Bay area for 2 years. And so I have so many work friends and other friends that I just so love getting together with here.
So how different, from a cold standpoint, was Minneapolis compared to Cincinnati? Because again, growing up in the Midwest, like
Yeah.
winters are freaking cold, but Minnesota
Yeah.
is on a different level.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, everyone always says, "Aren't you from the Midwest?" Yes, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. But if you look at the map of the United States of America, Cincinnati is right on the border of Ohio and Kentucky. So we got snow, but a lot of snow. Was like, I think we got maybe 1 foot, the most in my entire time living there, and that was a huge problem. But most of the time, we got 3 inches, things like that. Nothing of the magnitude that I experienced in Minnesota. I remember my sister and I was working. I got home super late one night and I was pulling into my complex and the snow had gotten so high. It was probably it was up to my upper thigh. I kid you not. And I couldn't get my car out of my complex. Like it was just stuck in the middle of the road. And my sister and I are trying to push it out, got completely stuck. And so I'd never experienced that before. And in terms of coldness, yeah, Minnesota is another level, but I definitely had a lot of warm gear and everything like that to keep me warm, but completely different stories between Cincinnati and Minnesota. Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, and if there were
Okay.
4 inches of snow on the ground, I'm like, oh crap, it's that time of year again. Hate
Yeah.
the winters, and I live in Phoenix now. Been out
Okay.
for about 5 years, and now I'm at a point where it's like 75 and sunny almost all year round. Obviously, the summer gets to like 170,
Yeah.
but other than like, I'm like ready to have different seasons again.
We
You
were in Phoenix, the Scottsdale area last month in July for my bachelorette party. And I think it was 100 and something every day. I was like, wow, I think this is even hotter than Florida in the summer.
Oh yeah, I mean they say there's no humidity, but they're liars. It's
Yeah.
still 122 degrees.
I thought it was still hot, but great area though. Oh my gosh.
I love it. I love it. We're in Scottsdale right now. I mean, you really cannot beat the weather 9 months out of the year.
Oh yeah. And there's so much to do around there. We were so impressed by the restaurants, the bars. I mean, everything there was just so much fun.
Oh my God. And thanks so much for, again, talking to me here today. I
Sure.
would love to pick your brain about some of the things that you've done in your career, again, bouncing all
Sure.
over the place, starting out in Corpus Christi, going through not rough stages, but, like there's a lot of bumps in the road, a lot of stuff you got to go through in order to get to your eventual goal, which you're at right now, I feel like,
Yeah.
content both personally and professionally, which is an awesome mix to have. But,
Yeah.
starting out in the industry, I know your dad, obviously in the Reds Hall of Fame, you kind of had that background growing up. But what was it for you that clicked in wanting to work, not necessarily in sports, but like as a reporter in general?
It actually, I owe pretty much everything to my dad because when I was younger, I was asked what I wanted to do for a living. And I said I either wanted to be a professional in some type of sport. At the time when I was younger, it was soccer, or do something in relation to working in a gym, which, I mean, if I wanted to own my own gym, I mean, there were tons of ideas there, but we were sitting in our living room in Cincinnati. I was sitting with my dad watching an NFL game, and Aaron Andrews, of all people, was sideline reporting that day. And my dad was just sitting there and kind of looking at her and looking at me and was like, why don't you just do that for a living? And I was like, never really thought about that, but I feel like I could do that. I'm really loud. I can talk, and I know a lot more than the average female back in the day knew about sports at the time. So I just kind of went full throttle and decided to pursue that, and went to the University of Michigan and really did everything that I could possibly do to work on my experience in this business, which I had zero at the time going into college. And so, I mean, yeah, growing up in a sports household, it definitely was easy to be surrounded by sports, especially Major League Baseball. But I just feel like my dad kind of steered me in this direction, and I'm so thankful that he did, because if he didn't, I probably would still be sitting here not necessarily knowing what I wanted to do in life.
Oh my God. And did you actually start when you were at the University of Michigan, like starting with those experiences? Because like me looking back, I knew what I wanted at a young age, but it
Yeah.
was like, okay, in college, I'll start. Like knowing now with all the different content creations and podcasts and shows, I wish I would have started earlier.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. If we would have had all the resources and access to content creation, things like that earlier, man, maybe I'd be like a millionaire by now or something like that. But, or, you know, even some kids, I was so jealous going to high schools that they had newscasting programs in high school and I never had that. And so I felt like I was always a step behind going into college, but in the end, it all kind of comes full circle and seems to work out. But yes, the people that are pursuing this career now, especially with all the digital positions and roles that a lot of companies offer in this day and age, hey, I mean, it would be a great time to be a sports journalist, just going to college or just realizing maybe in high school what you want to do.
Oh my God, 100%. There's so many people out there that I don't think you would have necessarily seen as on-air personality or analysts today if they didn't have their own content creating like service, whether it's like their own YouTube channel or their own show that launches. You know, you look at Barstool Sports 20, 30 years ago, that wouldn't even be accepted in sports journalism.
And I love Barstool Sports so much. I think their content is great, but it's just so funny. I talk about this with my friends all the time who are not necessarily in the business. You have, you know, one skill that separates you from the rest, and whether you're able to present that in a digital way or via YouTube or something of that nature on Instagram, on Twitter, that separates you, you have a future in this business. And you don't necessarily have to go to a 4-year college to pursue sports journalism or whatever you want to get into. It's kind of like, you can start if you have a computer, if you have a phone, you can kind of a special skill, a talent for something, you can start in this business, which I think is awesome. But at the same time, I'm glad I didn't have it when we were younger. Kind of, I know I previously said I wish we did have it, but I don't know if I'd be able to navigate all the stuff that teenagers and high school students have today.
Yeah, I hear you're not too big of a social media fan. Like if you have it your way, you would not have social media.
That is correct. I think there are a lot of positives to it, and I know people have made careers out of this. I mean, I definitely have my social media for my work, but if it were my way, yes, I think the world was a much better place without it, and I would prefer the olden ways, I guess, of doing things. But yeah, it's not my favorite thing in the world. But then again, do I use Twitter to get, you know, news sometimes? Of course I do. Do I like looking at pictures on Instagram? Of course I do. And like YouTube videos. So I'm consuming all of the media, but if we were to do without it, I'd be okay.
I think the good thing about it, at least for my generation as a young 22-year-old trying to make it in this business, is that, you know, I can reach out to, you know, Annie Sabo and have a conversation where like back in the day it was a lot harder to do. And like when you were in college, you know, pursuing your degree, was it more of like, okay, here's what I'm studying, I'm taking notes about what I'm learning from my professors, or was it more like I'm taking the experiences I'm having and those are forming who I want to be?
I really used experiences over what I was learning in the classroom. My communications degree was more written based. So yeah, I had to write 10, 15-page papers all the time, but is that helping me talk on camera? No, not necessarily. So I really relied on outside experience, whatever I could do to get involved in the student-run TV station. I worked for the football team. What else did I do? Worked for the Big Ten Network's like student affiliate program down at Michigan, and that's where I really learned how to do everything. In the classroom, of course, I value my degree, and I'm so happy that I have a college degree and worked really hard for that. But in terms of the skills that I learned to do my job, that all came from outside of the classroom and working with people who have been in the business for forever and ever. And that's where I got my experience. So maybe, I don't know, if you're a younger person in this day and age, maybe reaching out to someone via social media could lead to a lot of good things. I've gotten jobs via reaching out to people on social media. So it definitely has its pluses. However, I think to bring this conversation full circle, the negatives outweigh the positives in social media when it comes to my opinion. But I know I'm in the minority when I say that.
No, I completely agree. I personally not a great student. Like graduated high school, graduated college, have my degrees, but at the same time, like I feel like I learned everything from the experiences I had because I was passionate enough to pursue my overall goal and my overall dream to get, you know, into the business. You know, like it wasn't, you know, I sat down and studied and just learned stuff, you know, like some say college is building employees, not entrepreneurs and stuff like that. Like I buy into that. I think you need the college experience. Like, I'm glad I went, probably still would have been in Jersey somewhere on the East Coast, not getting out of my comfort zone, not getting out of my box to learn more stuff. But at the same time, the actual like curriculum, like some people it works for me. And I feel like for you too, that it was just like, you learned some stuff, but not everything. It was more about the experiences.
Yeah. And I think a lot of young people reach out to me, or people that are, in high school and really want to pursue this. And they ask me, the question that I get all the time is, what did you major in? And I say, well, I majored in communications, but in all honesty, you could major in law if you wanted to. And then at the end of college, if you decided, hey, you know what? I studied law in college, but I also worked at the student-run TV station or whatever the college provided, and I want to go to the TV route, then you're able to do that. I just feel like no matter what you major in, if you want to pursue a TV or a career in sports or in TV, if you have the work ethic and you really want to do it, you can do it no matter what you major in. Criminology, you could still become a great TV personality. Doesn't matter.
No, it's not like a copy and paste thing. You got to go out there, experience things, get knocked down, get back up, have successes, have failures. Like that's what molds you and your style on air, and molds you as a person too. Like you build your skills as you're going along, as opposed to just being like, okay, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. This is what I got to do in order to get here. Like that's not true.
Yeah. And everyone has such a completely different path to get where they want to be. I mean, I started in local news, but other people have started, as digital reporters for different teams. I mean, it just totally depends. So when people ask how to become a sports broadcaster, I'm like, well, you have so many different avenues in this day and age to do that. And it's so different in this day and age than when I went to school. So I don't really have like, you need to do, A, B, and C, and this equals becoming a sports broadcaster. It's just kind of wherever you can get your foot in the door and gain experience, that's what you got to do.
Did you like doing local news?
I don't necessarily know if I liked it, but I learned so much in my first job that was so valuable to where I am in this point in my career and in my life that I don't take any of it for granted. Yes, I started in Corpus Christi in a very small town. Yes, but I learned how to do my first live shot on live TV and, deal with technical difficulties when you're live on television and things go wrong and you have no idea how to handle that. So there's so many things that I learned. And I got to work high school football in Texas, in small town Texas, which is basically like Friday Night Lights, the TV show, which was awesome to experience. And in Tampa, it was the same. I mean, in that stage, it was obviously a much bigger TV market and got to cover the Bucks, the Rays, and the Lightning. And the Lightning went to Stanley Cup final, or one final. I can't remember. I get everything mixed up. Anyway, covering the playoffs was awesome. So I don't know if I necessarily liked, this is what I said. I don't like my first, I remember my experience of the first job fondly, but when I was in it and working 12-hour days and not making any money, did I like that? Not necessarily, but I'm thankful for that job because it gave me the opportunity to get my job in Tampa, and it just kind of spiraled to where I am now.
And I feel like going in, you knew that you had to go through that in order to get to where you want to be. Like there's so many people who I've already seen through college that wanted to pursue this and they stumble once and then they pursue something else because it didn't work.
Oh, yeah. It's hard. I mean, you got to be able to really move to the middle of nowhere and work for no money. I mean, that's what I had to do. I mean, if you're able to go a different route and start somewhere different in your career, hey, more power to you. But that's just how I did it. And that's how a lot of my friends in the industry have started as well. And it's definitely a grind, but it's totally worth it. And you'll learn some of the greatest lessons in live television, your first TV market, I can tell you that.
I mean, live production, just, broadcasting through school, with the podcast here, we got a studio, we got to have you on some other time too to get that. But, because we could throw up like pictures and videos and stuff, and that'd be awesome. Cool. But even with that, it's like right when we start up, the TriCaster went down, or up, that camera just blew out. And you're like, really? At this point, you're like, okay, it happened. I expect it now.
And seriously, I was in Corpus Christi and I said to myself in my head, when I get to this level, these things won't happen. But it happens at every single level, no matter where you are. If you are, Aaron Andrews or whoever, they all experience some sort of last minute issue or technical difficulty or something went wrong. And it just, you know what? It's part of live TV.
It's tough because like it almost like challenges you to say like, I don't have any expectations going in because something wrong is going to happen. But at the same time, you have your own personal expectations for how you want to conduct yourself on the show. And if a thing goes bad, that impacts that. That's frustrating.
I think the biggest thing is being able to adjust and learn on the fly when things go wrong. That is one of the biggest lessons that I learned in my job in Minnesota, because you're on TV live for 30 minutes straight. If something goes wrong or something doesn't go as planned, it's not like you can throw it to a commercial right then and there. You kind of have to adjust while people are watching you at their homes, and sometimes you don't know what's going on and you just got to play it off. So that's definitely something that I've learned and is still a work in progress.
Well, let me ask you this, whether it be a live production mishap that kind of forced you to adjust and maybe almost just like threw you off a little bit, or something entirely different, just coming up in the ranks in the industry, learning. Do you have any, things that you can definitely like vividly remember in your mind that were almost embarrassing or almost just like, I wish that didn't happen, but I learned from it and it's in the past now?
I have so many. The first one, I was working in Corpus Christi and I didn't know if we were live or not. I was working, this is when I first started, I was doing sports and working on the morning show. So the morning show, I was kind of the breaking news girl. If something happened, a highway crash or something like that in the area, I would report on that. And so I remember I was in the newsroom and I'd finished my little hit and there was some completely wrong video playing. And I wrapped up my hit and kind of threw it back to the studio because I assumed it was the wrong video. It made no sense. And then I'm like walking back to the desk and the producer in my ear is saying, okay, keep talking. And I'm like, what do you mean? I just wrapped up my hit. I'm so confused. And so I'm whispering in my microphone. I don't know why I did this, like cut. And you could hear it live on the air. And it is probably one of the greatest moments of my career because I had just assumed that they had taken the camera off of me. So that's one lesson. Always act as if you're live on television if you have a microphone attached to you, because sometimes your mic's on and sometimes it's off and you don't know the difference. So that's something I've definitely learned. And then another thing, let me think. I mean, there's so many things. There's so many bloopers. If someone has all my blooper reels, oh my gosh.
I was going to say, is that up somewhere?
No, I wish it was. I think I had it saved when I was at my first job in Texas, but I don't think I have it saved anymore because it was so funny. Just in Minnesota, just really like sometimes when a different video comes up, when you're expected to throw to something and that's not the video, or, your analyst is still talking and you're supposed to throw to something else. There's so many, I can't think of a specific moment in Minnesota. The one that just really stands out to me is the one in Corpus Christi. And I learned they don't say anything on your microphone because it could still be hot and you can't say cut and expect the producer and director back in the control room to just take you off camera immediately.
Yeah, I've had a few of those, send it back to the studio and you're just sitting there smiling for like 10 seconds.
Oh yeah, that's happened to me so many times too.
It's awful. I talked to Victor Rojas, who's now with, I think it's AA with the Texas Rangers, but when he was the voice of the LA Angels, he said that before they went live, and apparently they just got back from commercial break, but he didn't know it at the time, and a Leonard Skinner song, probably Simple Man, was playing over the loudspeakers, and he went, oh, that's a great effing song on the air.
Yeah.
It's still up there. And I'm like, dude, I think he got suspended, maybe fined, but fortunately he didn't lose his job. Like those are things you look back on, like laugh now, but at the time you probably feel so bad.
Oh my gosh.
The most hopeless feeling in the world.
I don't think I've ever said one cuss word in my life when I've had a microphone on, just because I'm nervous about that. And you always have to be wary of, what you're talking about or how you're responding or whatever, because someone might be able to hear it somewhere in case your microphone is on, even in a commercial break.
It's tough. Like if that's your personality too, like not that that's a good trait to have, but like having like a laid back personality and have something like that split out every now and then, like if you're going to learn it the hard way, if you are on the mic and you're wearing hands and something like that happens, and then your producer gets in your ear saying, yeah, we're live.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. It's, once you learn it once though, with something hopefully minor, then you will probably never do it again.
Yeah. And there's probably a lot of other little things, like even if it goes right, like maybe the lighting doesn't look good, you don't look great on camera, and you're just like, man, like that stinks. Like that was a great hit, but like I look like I'm pale, like I'm albino in this. You know.
Yeah, same with me. And when you work with all men, a lot of the time, sometimes I'll have a piece of hair sticking out some weird way, and I have the most perfect makeup and it was the most perfect hit, but I have a piece of hair that's sticking up like an alfalfa sprout in the back of my head, and I'm like, could no one have told me that was the perfect hit? But I can't, post it online because my hair is crazy.
See, most guys would not understand that reference. Like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I had hair as long as yours about 3 months ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I completely understand your pain when it comes to that. I look back at some of those, like early on, like pregame show things, and I think like, oh my God, like I look like Ben Franklin.
Yeah. Like when you have longer hair, it takes a whole lot of hair products and, a lot of hairspray to make sure it stays. But sometimes if it's really windy outside, when I had to do stuff outside, you just kind of cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Do you like, like a certain style on air? Obviously everybody has their own style with cadence and voice and whatnot, but like having like a specific look, like I'm wearing a leather jacket right now, like that's my look. I have like 10 leather jackets in my closet. Like, or do you feel like some organizations, whether it be like Fox Sports or Bally Sports now, where you have to, guys have to wear suits, like you have to wear a dress?
I always really like bright colors. So I guess my signature look would be whatever it is that I'm wearing. It's probably the brightest thing possible. If I could wear a neon jumpsuit every day, I probably would. If I could wear like a rainbow leopard print something too, I probably would wear that. And I just know a lot of the time solids are preferred over patterned attire. But yeah, I like leather jackets. I'm usually some kind of jacket, blazer, and pants kind of person, but in studio. But when it comes to being outside, I just like to wear a dress and like some kind of Nike tennis shoe or something like that. But my signature thing is just, I love bright colors. If I have to wear black, that's like, I love black, but that's a last resort. I want to be wearing the brightest yellow, the brightest orange, just to stand out. I think it looks good on camera.
I feel like you guys have a lot more options too as women as opposed to guys. It's like I can wear a navy suit or I can wear a gray suit. And that's about
yeah.
Like, I feel like
no one would notice. You could wear the same suit for 365 days and no one noticed. But if I wore like the same purple dress in back-to-back weeks, people would be like, we saw that last week.
Like, did you shower at all? Or like, you take your clothes off?
My response would be, you can buy my clothes if you'd like to then.
Yeah. Like, I personally think like I cut my hair because I needed a break, but I personally love the look. Like, I feel like as a journalism person growing up through the ranks, like I'm not a former player with like the biggest charismatic personality. Like I actually have to look professional with a decent haircut, trimmed beard.
If I were a guy, I would have like the shortest of short hair, just so it's one less thing I have to deal with.
Yeah, I almost envy bald guys. Not quite, but almost, because they literally just wake up and it's like that's their look.
Yeah, just run with it.
Lucky bastards. But to kind of shift gears, I know we talked about earlier your dad in the Reds Hall of Fame. I've heard in some interviews that you've done, talking about getting in the industry, your own way, not through your father's name, like, I don't know, like there's a ton of people who, use like their name to get somewhere, at least get their foot in the door. But like never felt that way. Was that like, again, like I'm going to prove that I could do it? Or was it more along the lines like, I didn't even think about that. Like, that's not something that I thought about.
I guess a little bit of both. I never really thought about that because growing up with my dad, I just thought it was normal.
Yeah.
outside of the instances when he was inducted into the Reds Hall of Fame and when we went to baseball games, when everyone was shouting my dad's name, I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's a little bit different. But I guess what I always say too is my dad is my dad, and I'm so proud of my dad, and I'm so proud to be his daughter as well. But I always wanted to create my own name and my own brand, if you will, and my own career path apart from his, to kind of have, I guess, two people in the family to have success stories. Not that, I mean, being known as his daughter is great, but I also want to, do my own thing and kind of create my own legacy, if you will. But I mean, being attached to my dad's name, I mean, forever, I'll be proud of that. But I've just never really thought about it. I've never used my dad's name to get special treatment really anywhere. And I can tell you that it hasn't landed me special treatment anywhere in this industry. I mean, it is based on solely on your credentials and your work ethic. And I inherited both of those things from my father. But no, I just kind of have always wanted to do my own thing. And I mean, if my dad's helped me a lot along the way, but I don't know. It's just something that I've always wanted to do for myself, to feel accomplished. And I feel like it's my purpose to kind of create my own little way in the industry.
I mean, it's the work ethic and your credentials that are going to get you there anyways, right? Like,
right.
Even if you were to use someone's name, like I know in WWE, for instance, Charlotte Flair uses Ric Flair's name, like that's going to gain a ton of traction. But at the same time, like you have to put in the work yourself and prove to everybody, prove to the executives, producers, and everybody that you can actually do it. That might get your foot in the door. But like, how far is that going to go if you don't even know how to hold a microphone or talk into a microphone on camera?
Right. And if I'm covering, the NHL or the NBA, like I did this past season, or college football, my dad has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, did he go to Michigan and is he a diehard Michigan fan? Sure, as am I. But I've done everything completely on my own. But I mean, having a dad that played pro sports and can answer the questions that other dads can't necessarily answer all the time is cool, and getting an inside look at behind the scenes of things went on that, my dad dealt with as a pro baseball player when I was younger is always a cool inside look that I can kind of bring to the table when I'm talking about baseball. But the other sports, I'm completely on my own.
Yeah. And then that's, again, a great thing to have. Were there any, I don't want to say naysayers, but like any like big negative moments that kind of shaped and formed your mentality growing up through the business and saying like, I'm going to prove you wrong in that sense?
Oh, way too many. I guess I will say that I've always considered myself an underdog, no matter if it's been in sports growing up or when it came to applying for colleges or getting my first job. I've always considered myself one. Why? I don't know why, but I always have felt like I'm looked over for certain positions. I don't know why or what the reasoning is behind that, but there's been so many moments when, I thought one door was supposed to open for me and this was supposed to be the opportunity that was meant for me, and someone else got the position, or I was turned down from something, and I was devastated. There's been a lot more times that I've really been, down and out, overlooked for positions or not necessarily getting it. And I thought it was the end of the road. I mean, craziness, but it's just so incredible how things seem to work out when, I always say when one door closes, a window opens. And I feel like that's how always my career has worked in certain circumstances. And I'm so grateful for that. But there's not one specific moment that I can point to where I was kind of, not given a certain position over the other, but I just feel like it's a constant me on a hamster wheel with people telling me, no, you can't do it. No, we're rejecting her. We're taking her over you or him over you. And I just have to keep chugging along. Is it easy all the time? No, not at all. Do I get down sometimes? Of course, it's life. But I feel like the path to success, I mean, if it was easy in this industry, everyone would get there. Everyone would do it. So I just feel like a lot of people in this industry share a lot of the same experiences as I have, being turned down or really being excited about something and then just never getting a response for someone back. And I just feel like that's kind of been my experience my entire life and through this career. And I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough that things have kind of worked out to my favor, but has it been easy? No.
Not at all. I mean, it's almost like within yourself, it's almost a mental thing. Like, yeah, you could you could get picked over someone or someone can get picked over you, and like that's strictly business. That's the decision they made. But like in your head, it's because because
Right.
I wasn't good enough.
Oh, totally. And I think that's a constant battle with everyone in the industry all the time. On social media, so many people reach out if I post a certain quote about something in relation to that, about being, looked over or being an underdog. I get so many responses. So I feel like that's totally a common theme. But at the same time, if one entity is looking for a brunette over a blonde, well, that's why you didn't get picked. You could have the same, credentials, same experience level, be just as good. But if they were looking for a brunette or a redhead over a blonde, in my case, they get the job over me. It's crazy.
Is that an actual scenario? Like that happens?
It was. I did modeling for like literally a couple months when I was in high school. And it is in modeling, but I swear I think it is in TV, because think about it. When you're looking or watching a college football show or whatever show it may be, you kind of want a unique look in a sense. You don't want everyone across the board to be blonde or everyone across the board to have dark hair. So I think it is. Am I a higher up executive to make those decisions? No, but in my head, I really think it is, just to mix it up. So you're not looking at a head full of blondes or brunettes or redheads. It just doesn't look as good if you have, some diversity there.
Wow. Yeah, I honestly didn't even realize that. Like, obviously,
I could be completely wrong, but that's in my head what I
yeah.
think truly.
So, like, have you ever, gone through the struggles of, I don't even know how to phrase it as a 22-year-old guy trying to make it in this industry, but like having the struggles, as a woman working in sports, people questioning whether or not you actually have the knowledge to do it or not. Because like even friends I have struggle through that now.
Yeah.
College. It's like sometimes it's ridiculous, sometimes it's fair, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Right.
In your case, as a professional, like you got to the point where everybody's like, okay, she's for real. Like, is that frustrating growing up in that sense of being in like maybe just like an entire ocean full of women reporters trying to make it?
Right.
And it's like half and half, like people don't really trust you until you actually prove yourself.
Yeah, I think that's part of the experience as well. But something that I've learned, and I can't speak for everyone else, is that you have to trust people that have been in the industry for a long, long time and clearly know what they're doing. So if they're giving you advice, or your bosses in whatever job that you're in are saying, hey, maybe you should do a little work on this area, that's always something that I would work on extremely hard. And I would always ask for feedback. Hey, can I do something different here? And especially at my last job at Bally Sports in Minnesota, I had one boss who was just fabulous at that. We would go through a few shows, sit down together, and he'd always point out a couple areas where he would change some things. And it was so helpful, because a lot of the times you don't know what you're doing right or wrong, because you're on live TV, you're reacting to things. But when you actually sit down with someone else to watch it with you and they're giving you things to work on, you're like, oh, wow. But also, it just comes with experience too. I mean, if you're year one, year two in your career talking about the NFL and you've been covering the NFL for 1 year, of course, no one's going to believe everything that you're saying. But then as you keep getting more and more years of experience and reading and learning and just being around whatever you're covering, it just really creates a whole new ball game, in my opinion. For example, covering when I was in Tampa, the NFL year 1 to year 2 was night and day, just because year 1, you're learning a brand new team. I knew nothing about the Buccaneers. Then year 2, I knew everything. So I just think it comes with experience. And especially if you're in a job for more than 1 year, year 2, I always felt like so much more confident and comfortable and knew everything that was going on. But year 1, if you're starting a new job, it's completely starting with a clean slate, learning every single new team, athlete, player. I mean, you name it, you have to know it. And it's just having more than a year to probably get everything under your belt and together. And then year 2, it's always a whole lot better. But yeah, I think that's a constant struggle in the industry, especially for women. But at the same time, the people that know what they're talking about and bring something to the table, that's why a lot of these women, like Erin Andrews, like certain people are, at the highest level of this industry they can be, because they've proven themselves in that regard.
So in, regards to what you just said about, having to not like a sophomore slump, but like almost like freshman year all over again. You got to relearn some stuff.
Yeah.
You learn the rosters. You got to learn, how players react to certain things.
Mhm.
Going into your new gig with Big Ten, is that going to be something that you're going to have to relearn, or do you feel pretty comfortable going in head first?
Well, I mean, I know college football, so that's not, a whole new, learning experience. But when I was in Florida, I covered a lot of SEC football. I covered the Florida Gators and FSU. So I pretty much should tell you everything about those two teams. So now it's relearning the Big Ten because, yeah, am I a fan and do I watch games for fun? Of course. But am I actually studying the X and O's of week one game of Indiana and of Iowa? No. And so, yes, I am currently going through a 176-page research packet to go through every single Big Ten college football team to make sure I'm prepared. So, yeah, it's definitely relearning everything, not in terms of the specifics, the X's and O's for each of these football programs. But, yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's like freshman year all over again. You're trying to get accustomed to a brand new sport with a whole slew of new athletes. And so currently working on that. But, yeah, it's a whole new process.
I feel like it's going to be a completely different dynamic too, because in Minnesota you're with a team. Like
Right.
you get to know the players on a daily basis. Where I feel like at the Big Ten, like you're going to be all over the place, dealing with tons of different athletes from tons of different schools.
Oh, yeah. And that's something I'm looking forward to, but it's something I haven't experienced yet. So I think it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out. I know we're going to be interviewing some special guests here and there, which will be nice because I am very much a people person and like to interact with players, coaches, etc. So I'm looking forward to actually getting to talk to people in person again, which is awesome. But yeah, it's going to be different. It's something that I haven't done before. And I'll report back to you and let you know what my experience with this is like.
I mean, it's growth. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like that's the most exciting. That's probably what sets your soul on fire with it. It's going to be something different, something that you've kind of experienced, but it's going to be a different dynamic.
Yeah. And something that I always tell people that ask me for my advice, not that my advice goes very far, but I always say if I get comfortable in a certain spot or I get comfortable doing the same show, not the same show, but the same type of show every single day, and I'm not challenged anymore, that I feel like it's always time to move on and do something different. Because I always want to feel challenged, and that keeps it interesting and exciting for me. When I was in Tampa and felt like I wasn't being challenged enough, I wanted to try something different. And I just feel like that challenge of achieving some sort of perfection in live television, which isn't always possible, is something that really keeps me going, and is something that I look forward to every single day. Is an opportunity, each show, each live broadcast, an opportunity to overcome a challenge and learn some in the process.
Do you think you'll ever I guess I'll use the word settle down in a sense of obviously, you got to build your reputation in a place because, you see broadcasters, whether it be in baseball or even Joe Buck with Fox, been there for almost 30 years doing the exact same thing. It's exciting, but at the same time, being in the same workspace for that long, interacting with the same people, you have to absolutely love it in order to keep that passion burning on the inside. Because, again, you can experience something for 2 years and it feels like 20 years.
Yes, I think it's just all about finding the right place for you. I am now year almost 7 in the industry, and I love it just as much as I did day one. So do I see myself settling down soon? No, I love this business, and I would love to be in it for as long as possible. If I could keep doing this until I'm 60 years old, that would be awesome. But of course, life gets in the way with certain things too. I'm getting married in December, so I have to slow down for a little bit then, which is obviously going to be awesome. But I am just such a I guess I'll call it a workaholic type person. And I just love it. And I have to be busy all the time or else I don't feel satisfied or fulfilled. So no, kind of long answer short, I don't find myself settling down anytime soon. Granted, could I find something that wouldn't be as demanding in the industry if I wanted to kind of step back a little bit? Sure. But I just love doing this so much. And I've been fortunate enough that people want to hire me. And so I'm able to continue to do this, but I love it. And I hope I can do it again until I'm 60 years old.
Yeah, it's not work if you love it.
Yes, it's so true.
It's easy to say oh, she's a workaholic, but you're a workaholic because you love what you do, which
and so much fun every single day.
Job. It's not I'm on the clock and it's oh, I'm just doing this for the paycheck. You love it.
Right.
And then that, I feel like, makes everything else happier in the end. Like, you go back home, to your fiance or whatever, like your family, like you're in a good mood. Like, I feel like everything flows easier when you're happy and you're doing what you love, as opposed to working 9-to-5 job in a cubicle somewhere where you're just not happy.
Yes. If you find, and I know it's a grind to get to certain levels in this industry, but if you find a job that you love and is so awesome, stay there forever if that's your goal, because there are certain jobs that I've worked which I did not want to stay forever and was not happy. But my current job, just shout out to Bally Sports North again, it was just such a joy to be there and I loved it every single day. And so they know what they're doing over there, and it was so much fun and everyone was just such a delight to work for.
So on like this topic, and this will be the last thing I ask you, I don't want to take too much time, but everybody says you got to find that balance, or you got to find that common middle ground in order to have both a happy professional and personal life. And in your situation, I feel like it worked out, now what you're going through, making the move to Tampa Bay, like it just worked out for everybody. Like you're with your family now, it works, got the brand new gig with Big Ten, everything's kind of flowing. But were there ever times throughout, again, your process where it was like there was no balance and you almost not necessarily had to cut ties with people, but like you had to really, test certain relationships?
For sure. And I think this business truly is all about the work-life balance, because when I was early on in my career, I was all work all the time. That's not necessarily healthy for anyone. And it was a lot. It was wearing me down. But I think my last job in Minnesota, I was finally able to achieve the work-life balance that I've been searching for so many years. So I guess it took me 4 years to finally find the work-life balance that I had been hoping for. But still, kind of going back to one of your earlier questions, it was for me still a huge, tough decision to decide to leave Minnesota for kind of personal reasons, to be closer to my fiance and with my family. But it's so hard, because I think I think I'm still going to struggle with this. I mean, down the road, what if I get a job after Big Ten that wants me to go somewhere else? And then I'm going to have to figure that all out with my fiance and with my family again. So it's just all about kind of weighing what is more important to you. And obviously my family and fiance are extremely important to me. But I think right now it's kind of about finding more of a family balance with less work, even though I would like to say the opposite. I feel like my fiance and family need me a little bit more here to help them with certain things and be more supportive. Especially my fiance is a professional golfer, so I've been to like 0 tournaments, and so maybe next year I'll get to a few more of his golf tournaments. But I feel like I finally found the work-life balance in my life, schedule-wise, but mentally I'm not there yet, and so I think that's something that I'm still working on, because I'm still ready to work every single day. But I think that is the struggle that everyone's trying to find. And if someone can tell me the exact equation to how to have the perfect work-life balance, let me know, because I'm still trying to find that and I don't know the answer. But if someone knows, let me know.
I feel like it's hard too to like almost appreciate when things are really going well, and like you don't necessarily feel like the work-life balance is going well until you get hit with more projects and things are all of a sudden insanely busy. And you're like, oh man, I wish I appreciated that 3 months ago when it wasn't that busy. Like, I feel like you're almost never like in the right mindset when it comes to, like I want more, but at the same time, you got to appreciate what you have, and you don't appreciate it until like things are really, going.
Amen. That's the going back to the phrase stay present, right? Because I mean, it's so true. Going back pre-COVID, I was working all the time. Did I take it for granted? No, but then COVID hit and I missed work so much. And so this past baseball season, I believe I had to work the first 60 or so games straight for the Twins. And was I tired and did I need a day off? Of course. But at the same time, I was just so thankful to be back at work again, and never ever wanted to take any work opportunity for granted, because all of us were laid off for so many, not laid off, but just out of work for so long due to COVID. So yes, I am like, whenever I can work, I'm happy to work and I'll take it.
Well, you got a great opportunity now, and everything, again, I'm going to use the word flowing because it just seems like everything's good right now. getting married in December. You got a great job, great scenario living with your family. And again, 15 minutes in now, I ask a lot of questions. Sorry. I'm just very curious sometimes about, picking people's brains in this industry of how they navigate their lives where they can both, be happy personally, which allows you to be on your A game professionally, and vice versa.
Right. I just think it's all about finding the job that's going to allow you to do that. And I can't tell everyone what individual job that is for you, but once you're there as someone that's found it, you'll know what job will allow you to have the perfect amount of work fun and personal fun. And I think that's the ultimate goal. It should be the ultimate goal for everyone in this crazy business. And I found a little bit of it, but of course it's probably going to be shaken up in the future and I'll have to navigate it all over again.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks for being gracious enough for coming on the show today. Best of luck with the wedding. I know that's
Thank
probably, tiresome planning a wedding on
Yes,
top
it
of
is.
everything else. So hopefully we could chat again sometime soon afterwards and, catch up soon.
Perfect. And shout out to Phoenix, Arizona. Love that area.
Thanks, Annie.
Yep.